What's up, everybody? My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko When They Cry Answers Arc. Last episode, we finished the main part of Chapter 8 as Bernkastel got fucking destroyed. It was awesome. And, we got the trick ending, which sucked, and the magic ending, which was very nice. And now all we have left is seemingly the tea parties. So, yeah, this could very well be the last episode. Depending on how long the tea parties are, it might not be. This could be the finale, which is weird to think about. That this is the end. But, yeah, either way, let's just jump into them. I'm not sure what to expect. Okay, City of Books, hello. Okay, that's Featherin's place. The majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating set down her pen, looked at the ceiling, and sighed deeply. The desk was covered with a scattered mountain of paper covered with writing. Words were packed onto the pages in a thin, high-information density language that only the great ones could read. Each letter of this language carried the same amount of information as several books in the human world. These letters filled every inch of this huge pile of paper. Surely she had written out every little detail of some world. Yes, I have written it all. Though to be accurate, I have not truly written it all. She stood up, sat down in her favorite rocking chair, and rocked peacefully for a while. How far must one write before they can say they've written it all? That is what has bothered me in all my years of writing. The adventures of humans can be very interesting as a tale. However, even I still don't know when that adventure stops being an adventure. My old friend, who is now gone, once said that a human's life is an adventure from beginning to end, so there is never a correct time to set down one's pen. I do not agree. I think one must put away the pen at some point. I believe one should write a tale to an appropriate point, then leave the aftertaste and opinions to the minds of the spectators. Okay, I was thinking the text seems to be moving slower than usual. I'm not sure why it reset. In short, the tale must be put inside a cat box at the appropriate time. The cat box has been the subject of this long tale, so is it not better to refrain from writing its demise, to instead put it in the cat box and leave it there? Featherin spoke to no one inside the empty study. Of course, no one commented on her words. However, Featherin seemed to hear something. She nodded and grinned contentedly. Yes, I know. I will write a bit further, then lay down my pen. Then it will be time for us to say our goodbyes. Featherin held up a finger and spun it around, a signal that she wanted to darken the room. The lights in the study dimmed. Would you mind letting me rest for a while? During that time, my cat, or rather my Miko, will entertain you. Oh great, burn. Been a while, and by that I mean not a while. Okay, I don't know who's talking. Ow, 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 ow. You suck. Can't you be less clumsy with that needle? Was that Lambda? Shut up. If you don't want it sewn by hand, I'll use a sewing machine. No! No machines! I want you to do it by hand. So please, just be a bit more gentle. Ow! It'll get better if you spit on it. Yeah! Don't just start licking me all of a sudden! I think this needle should be thick enough. This will hurt like hell, so you'd better close your eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2... Don't say that right before you start! Yeah! But despite all this, the two of them truly were close. Yep, Lambdadelta. Though Lambdadelta had been brutally dismembered in the final fight, she had survived. But unfortunately, she was still dismembered. Oh, so she's sewing her back in... Okay. So Bernkastel was sewing her arms and head back on with a needle and thread. Okay. The left arm, which was still waiting to be reattached, walked around on the bed impatiently with its index and middle fingers. Only the arms were left to do, so it looked like this would be finished soon. Then Erika returned, slamming the door open. I'm home, my master! I bought some sesame salt. Why sesame salt? You aren't planning to put it in tea, are you? Oh wait, that was Lambdadelta. It's Erika's toy. Erika, did you bring your chopsticks? Oh yeah, I forgot she had an obsession with those things, didn't she? Yes, my master! Great detectives have their magnifying glasses! Furuto Erika has her chopsticks. Are you ready? Pour out that sesame salt and use those chopsticks to separate the sesame seeds from the salt. Yes, my master! Please watch my fantastic chopstick-wielding skills! Okay, wielding is spelled correct, right? No, it shouldn't. That's not spelled correct. I don't think. Yeah, good luck. When you're done, make sure you put everything back in the bag. Are you still bullying her like that? How rude, I'm playing with her. Yes, Erika. The mailman just came by with a letter addressed to you. It says you're a piece of shit. A letter? I sense a crime calling to me. Don't tell me. I'll guess who sent it. The postmark is from heaven. It's probably from Delana or someone. I'm surprised you're still in touch. Despite the presence of this postmark, see how far Bernkastel's reasoning has taken her. You may be my master, but that's my line! Hey! You can't do that, my master! Van Dyne's ninth! It is forbidden to have multiple detectives! Okay. Then you'd better get out. So long, great detective Erika. My master! How could you? I'm Erika, the Witch of Truth! I'm just ahead! I'm ahead of the game! Fuck. I still can't tell if you two like each other or hate each other. Of course we hate each other. You're the only one I love. How could you, my master? Lady Lambdadelta, it looks like there's not enough room for the two of us. Are you serious? Are you challenging the great Lambdadelta's head? Erika grinned and grabbed Lambdadelta's left arm, which had been walking around the bed. I have here Lady Lambdadelta's arm, and here's the sliced open end of her arm. Erika grinned and wiggled her fingers menacingly. Oh, don't. Wait, you aren't thinking. Let's see if my rival can handle this. Yeah. Stop it! That tickles! Okay, I thought she was, like, going to, like, put her hand on the wound or something. She tickled the inside. Oh, no, she is tickling the inside of Lambdadelta's left arm. Apparently, she was extremely ticklish there. What the fuck? I think that would hurt? Incidentally, the open end of Lambdadelta's arm had cute, fluffy, white cotton candy poking out. I don't bleed. I cotton candy. Apparently, her body was made out of sweet candy with a bit of spice thrown in. Put your mind at ease, as there is nothing remotely terrifying about the scene. Okay, thank you. I was gonna say, that's some fucking corpse party shit. Kazami would be proud. Erika ran around, screaming, I've defeated Lady Lambdadelta all by myself, just like my master. Bernkastel didn't beat her all by herself. Featherin just fucking rewrote history or something and destroyed her. Lambdadelta growled and hissed at her. Bernkastel kept on sewing, an exasperated look on her face. It was a very peaceful scene. So, what does the letter say? Anything about what Delana and the others have been up to? Gertrude has been promoted to a full Inquisitor or something. Well, good for her, yay. Ooh, in addition to her cat, she's got a Meow-Oof now, too. Fuck, a Meow-Wow? Holy shit. What's a Meow-Woof? What? You don't know? You're so out of touch. No, it's the kids who are wrong. They've been all the rage lately. Even I got a female Meow-Woof a few days back. You can make some awesome competa with them, too. I'm totally lost, but I'll make sure I stay far away from your homemade food in the future. Cornelia is... Oh. During an Inquisitor exam, she found that she's really good at fighting, so she started combat training. Pretty hard to imagine her doing that, right? Well, there's all kinds of combat training. What's she doing? Looks like kickboxing and Chinese Kenpo. Could that be Eva's influence? I'll bet she'd fight pretty good standing on one leg. Good point! After all, she's been trained pretty well by a certain someone already. It also mentions Will. There's a surprise. Looks like Will hit it big on the foreign exchange market, so now he's living a life of leisure on the income from his real estate investments. Oh, hell yeah. Sounds like he started playing badminton lately, too. Nobody has a hellish coach. His butt's probably swollen by now. So, what about Delanner? As usual, she's stamping things, sealing things, approving things, and sometimes even signing things. She humbly asks us to stir up a crime in her district, since she would get assigned to it personally. Well, why don't we? Crime sounds fun. They say crimes occur wherever the detective goes. One of these days. If I feel like it, I might drop by to bully her. Oh, and there's also something about the Chester Sisters Corps. Wait, I don't want to hear it all at once. You've got to pause a bit for dramatic effect. Okay, that'll do it. I finally grew my right arm back! Do the left one now, please! Let's have some tea first. Erica, bring in a can of black tea and the pot of dried plums. Yes, my master! With this particular journey over and done with, the Voyager witches rested their wings. It was also that they could leave on a new journey in search of the next fragment. A short break between trips, backdrop by the pleasant scent of black tea. I'm back together now! Woohoo! Where are you going this time? If you go north, I'm heading south. Then if you go east, I'm heading west. Yes, because that's how opposites work. Good job, Lambdadelta. Now we can find another charming tale like this one. Next time, I hope you aren't playing the villain again, Bern. You do? Being the bad guy was pretty fun. I wonder what kind of tale we'll find next. What kind of tale will next meet in? To a pair of lovers, the Sea of Fragments is tiny. Children of Paradise. The Sea of Fragments is pretty huge. Ghost in the Shell. Those were actual Children of Paradise. I've never heard of that, but then she says Ghost of the Shell. I guess she's referencing stuff then. Even though I've never actually seen Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, get mad at me. Do it, get mad at me. I'll probably not watch it for a few years, because I'm slow with watching things. We'll meet again, when something else cries. Sounds good. Let's do that. We will meet again when something else cries. Ah-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. The happy voices of the witches faded into the distance. I think I was told that When They Cry 5 is actually in the works, so I guess... Yay, they're gonna show up in that probably as different characters. So long, everyone. See you again when something else cries. Womp. Okay. Yep, there's a question mark one. Achievement unlocked when something else cries. Alright, cool. So now all we have left... Nope, not that. This. We're only 13 minutes in, so I hope that this is a little bit longer. After decades. After decades? Excuse me? Okay, view of the city. Oh, hello. It was the largest banquet hall in this huge hotel. The many guests that filled the room chattered and applauded the person receiving an award trophy on top of the stage. Gotta speed up the text again. The sign in front said award ceremony from Japan's greatest publishers. I don't know who's talking. And now I would like to begin the novel category. The winner is that fantasy adventure novel we all know so well. The story that started a worldwide movement that continues to grow in leaps and bounds. Sakutaro's Great Adventure. Okay. The projector in front of the audience showed a brief summary of the series. It was a lengthy fantasy adventure novel that was already more than 8 installments long. The thrilling fantasy story told of the adventures of Sakutaro, a cowardly Vegeta lion who makes friends, learns through his experiences, and grows in his search for the one fragment. But I didn't appear in anything before Chapter 4, and I don't think I appeared in 5, 6, or 7 either. The main character's catchphrase, "I'll become the king of the beasts," was even one of the candidates for the Buzzwords of the Year award. In addition to being a thrill to read, the books also contain many messages for children to learn from, earning it high praise as an adventure novel that parents and kids could enjoy reading together. However, it hadn't received such praise from the beginning. For the first 6 volumes, it went almost entirely unnoticed. But last year, when foreign translations of the series began, it got its big break and suddenly became a huge topic of conversation. Even before this series, the author had created quite a lot of works, but none of those achieved any public acclaim. However, after this sudden rise in notoriety, her previous works were being reevaluated one after another. In that sense, it's probably fair to call her an author who went unrecognized for quite a long time. Miss Kotobuki! Congratulations on your award! That's a name I've never heard before. Your latest, Sakutaro Goes to the Witch's Island, was truly an excellent read! Publishing company executives repeatedly showered her with praise. Sakutaro's Great Adventure. The author's name was Kotobuki Yukari, okay? Nearly all of her royalties were sent to a fund to support needy children. Oh, wait. Angie said she was going to become an author and change her name. This must be Angie, then. And she herself had served as the director at several protective institutions. Some envious people tried to call this fake charity. But the more that people learned about her, the more those voices withered and died away. Kotobuki Yukari. By now, that name rang loud and clear across Japan. She sat in a chair, cheerfully chatting with the people who came to greet her. Last year, she was diagnosed with the initial stages of cancer. Oh. And after the surgery, her physical strength dropped sharply. Because of this, even in the stand-up awards party, she was given a chair and sat down while greeting people. Some people lamented, saying that if only she had been 20, even 10 years younger, she might have left her mark in history as one of the greatest authors in the 21st century. It had taken so long for her to receive the praise she deserved. She could no longer be called young. Even so, her determination to write had not wavered in the slightest. The story had gone around that even during her stay in the hospital, most of her time had been spent typing away. She always said the same thing, that she hadn't finished telling everything she needed to tell. Did she mean that she hadn't fully completed Sakutaro's Great Adventure? When that question was asked by a journalist, this is how she answered. If, by writing even one more book, I can teach just one more child how to find happiness, then I will spend the rest of my life writing every book, every page that I can. Because I still haven't fully conveyed the precious teachings I was given. Miss Kotobuki, congratulations on your award! I hear the movie adaptation has been getting splendid reviews as well. If you keep this up, you might even pass up Harry Potter's record. Harry the Potato. Yeah, sure. It was the name of a fantasy series that had become a worldwide hit. Thank you very much for your kind words. It's more than I deserve. I don't know how old she's supposed to be. It just said decades later. Oh, I forgot to tell you. My name is X. Head of Company X's first editorial department. It is an honor to meet you. I hope we have a chance to work together sometime. Actually, Miss Kotobuki, I apologize for being abrupt, but have you heard of the novelist known as Hachijo Tohya? Hachijo Tohya, you say? She remembered that name from several decades ago. She hadn't expected to ever hear it again. Do you know that name? Have you met Hachijo by any chance? No, I have not. I did go visit once, but I was an unknown back then. And since I suddenly barged into the publishing company's office, it was hardly surprising that I was refused an interview. Oh, I didn't know that. Could it be that you're a fan of Hachijo's work? No. I just wanted to find out what sort of person she was. I see. Well, the truth is, about that novelist, Hachijo Tohya would like to meet with you discreetly. To meet with me? Yes. Not as a formal interview, but personally, off the record. If you're interested, we would be happy to arrange the meeting. But of course, this has nothing to do with work. Hachijo Tohya wants to meet Kotobuki Yukari. Just like how I realized that Itoi Kukuro was Hachijo Tohya, did she use my name to figure out my identity? The Rokonjima mystery has been called one of the greatest social phenomena at the turn of the century. That uproar, which dragged in enthusiasts from across the world, suddenly subsided after an event held by Hachijo Tohya, where she was going to unveil the diary of Ushiromiya Eva, which contained the truth. Though she had set up the event herself, she then outrageously disappeared without releasing the contents of the diary, drawing harsh criticism for doing so. However, a very, very obvious feeling had been revived in the public sphere, that they had been prying into a terrible accident with many victims purely out of curiosity. And so, the frenzy surrounding the Rokonjima mystery had faded away quietly. Hachijo Tohya. No, Itoi Kukuro. She caught the public eye as a forger of Rokonjima mysteries. She claimed to have reached the truth, and released groundbreaking works of fiction one after another. She became famous as the driving force behind the Rokonjima mystery. After realizing that Itoi Kukuro was Hachijo Tohya, I went to her publishing company to ask for an interview, but I didn't get one. At the time, I despised her. Back in the beginning, I thought she might have used the Rokonjima mystery as a publicity stunt to advance herself. But now I feel a bit grateful to her. If she hadn't refused to show the diary in such an outrageous way, the Rokonjima cat box might still be the plaything of countless goats. She was indeed a forger who had toyed with the cat box, and I still had an uneasy feeling about her. However, at the same time, she was the one who, practically speaking, allowed Rokonjima to rest in peace. And did she really reach the truth? How had she reached something that seemed infinitely close to the truth, even from my perspective? Even now, after all these years, that's something I've wanted to know. What do you think, Miss Kotobuki? Of course, this is not an urgent request. I was told to tell you to take your time in making your decision if you wished. I understand. Does Hachijo Tohya live near the city? I was told that a meeting near here would be satisfactory at any time. I see. In that case, can I ask you to arrange a meeting for us in a quiet coffee shop next Sunday? Yes, as you wish. Thank you. Thank you very much. I believe Hachijo will be delighted as well. I have one condition. Yes, whatever you say. I am not going to discuss business, so please refrain from sending anyone from the editing department. But of course, we will do as you say. Madam Hachijo and I will meet alone, just the two of us. Can I count on you to keep that promise? Well, as to that, we would appreciate it if you kept this quiet, but what is it? Well, the truth is, the works of Hachijo Tohya were written by two people. I knew it. To the outside world, those books were written by a single female author, but there's actually a second author, a male one. The pair of them asked for a chance to meet you. As soon as I heard that, I felt a premonition. How had Hachijo Tohya, a person with no connections to the Ushiromiya family, managed to write about it in such detail? I was already feeling a premonition of a certain kind of miracle. When I left on my journey, I abandoned the name of Ushiromiya Ange and stepped into a new life. By now, things have settled down, but when the Sumadera family was still a threat, I wanted to distance myself from that name. Thanks to that, no one was able to get in touch with the new me anymore. However, now that Sakutaro's adventure has caught the public eye this year and made the name of Kotobuki Yukari famous, maybe it finally reached his ears. I used to play with a lion stuffed animal called Sakutaro, along with Maria. If those who knew this connected the name Sakutaro with my name, then it's only natural that they'd figure out who I was. The number of people who would be able to recognize me from that was very, very small. This person was also well versed in detective novels, and a man. I could only think of one person who matched. After all, I knew just how many detective novels he had piled up in his room, from the time when his effects were gone through. Yep, Battler. It was almost the time we had arranged for our meeting. My heart was racing, almost like a girl in love for the first time. At the very instant that the arranged time came, I heard the sound of the chime on the door, and they appeared. It was a man sitting on a wheelchair and a woman pushing him. How far in the future is this? Yeah, that's clearly Battler. His hair's white, but then Ikuko, I guess, her hair, she still looks relatively young. My eyes immediately fixed on the man in the wheelchair. And right away, I saw the traces that remained on his face. There's no doubt about it. He's my brother. My brother, Ushiromiya Battler. I knew it. But how did he not drown? Unless that thing that happened with Beatrice never actually happened. When our eyes met, he gave a little bow. I hurried to my feet and bowed back. It was a somewhat exaggerated and silly way for a pair of siblings to greet each other after several decades apart. However, my mind was already blank. The miracle I had waited for all this time was now a reality. Are you Miss Kotobuki Yukari? Yes, I am. And you two must be Hachijo Tohya. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for letting us borrow your precious time today. My name is Hachijo Ikuko. I'm mostly in charge of the actual writing. This is Tohya. He mostly handles the drafting. Though the woman who called herself Ikuko was far older than me, she seemed to be unbelievably youthful. Yeah, no kidding. It wasn't because she was good with makeup or dressed like a younger woman. Feels strange to say it. There was a strange mystique about her, as though she was immortal and never aging. Yeah. Then I quickly remembered that she had introduced my brother as Tohya. Pardon me for asking, but are you two married? We are not married, but we have been together for a long time. True, looking back on it, it really has been a long time. I'm just gonna give Battler / Tohya just this voice, my regular voice still. My brother smiled as he spoke. When I learned that, at least for him, those long decades hadn't been a period of isolation and loneliness, I felt an incredible sense of peace and relief. Before I knew it, he was staring back into my face. Well, I was just 6 years old the last time we met. It must be hard for him to find any traces he can recognize. However, I'm sure he'll recognize something, just the same. Your hair beads? We kept stealing glances at each other and looking away, like a couple on a blind date. We were both at an age where outside appearances mattered to us. Even though we both knew, we wouldn't let our polite exterior falter. This humorous exchange was extremely embarrassing. I thought it would be a fated reunion, that we would hold each other and sob tears of gratitude together. However, reality seemed to be different. But that's fine. Feels like my heart will explode with happiness. Let's take our orders. Is coffee okay? What does everyone want? I prefer something that isn't so bitter. How about you, Miss Kotobuki? Oh, I don't mind. I guess I'll have cafe a lot. How stiff we're all being. Even my brother seemed to be finding it amusing by now. Well now. When she said that, my brother and I fell silent and sat up straight. Should I start? Or will we start with you, Tohya? I'll go first. I'm the one who pushed so hard for this meeting, after all. As he spoke, he watched me calmly. I came here today thinking that you might be a certain person. Her name is Ushiromiya Ange. When I read your works and heard your name, I was sure that you were her. That's right. How long it's been since I last used that name. My true name is Ushiromiya Ange. I gave the exaggerated bow that I'd gotten so used to these long years. We've both aged, haven't we, Battler? I whispered this in my heart. Now it was my turn. With a quick apology, I fished around my handbag and took out a photo. Aww, that's a cute photo. It's weird seeing, like, Rudolph and Kyrie in different clothes, though. It was a picture from a trip I'd taken to an amusement park with Battler. I had many other pictures of us having a good time, but this one had the best shot of his face. I looked between him and the photo. There was no longer any room for doubt. Mr. Tohya, your true name is Ushiromiya Battler, isn't it? Is it? The hands of the clock inside me stopped. I wanted him to answer with a yes. Even though I was already so sure, I was still about to burst with the tension. And then when that instant seemed far too long ended, my brother answered. That's right. Unconsciously, I stared at my brother's face. With unbelievable quickness, he acknowledged that he was Ushiromiya Battler. My eyes immediately filled and overflowed with tears. I took out a handkerchief and wiped them away, but I couldn't hold them back. Battler was alive after all. So why didn't he come back to me right away? If he had been there during my darkest days, it would have meant so much to me. Normally, the thought would have made me curse my brother, but by now, even that emotion was softened. After all, now that I was faced with the miracle of being reunited with Battler, everything I'd felt before fell away with my tears. At this moment, I was happy. I was never alone. I worked so hard for decades with that belief in my heart, and now I've finally been rewarded. By now, I couldn't even stop my tears. For some time, I continued to sob and sniffle. Watching this, my brother hung his head apologetically. Why didn't he come back to me sooner? It looked as though he was feeling regret for that. But I'm sure he had some sort of reason. He's probably here today to tell me about it and apologize. Already, just by him introducing himself to me today, everything inside of me has been washed clean with tears. I'm sorry. I must be embarrassing you. Oh no, wait, that was Angie. No. It's only to be expected. For several decades, you've been waiting all alone, believing that your family would return. I did believe. I believed you would come home, Battler. I held out my hand weakly, and my brother slowly held his out too. Then I gripped his hand. Regardless of how many long years had passed, it was without a doubt my brother's hand. Once more I had to struggle to hold back the tears. Antiva avoided the explosion accident by escaping to Kuadorian. Wait. Antiva avoided the explosion accident by escaping to Kuadorian? How did you escape the accident, Battler? On that day, I escaped through the underground passage. The one that goes to Kuadorian? I was told that an underground passage led to a hidden mansion on the opposite side of the island. However, the place we escaped to was a submarine base, not Kuadorian. I don't know why my brother entered the underground passage on that day. At any rate, he went into the underground passage, and unlike Antiva, he escaped to the submarine base. There, he escaped the explosion and survived. After that, I got away on a motorboat. However, it must have capsized somewhere along the way. It must have... Please forgive him. Tohya suffers from memory loss. His memory from around the time he was drowning in the ocean is hazy, so that did happen. Could it be that he forgot he was Ushiromiya Battler for a while? That is correct. Yes, that explains nearly all of the riddles. My brother escaped from the explosion, but either his boat capsized during his escape from the island or he fell overboard. Afterwards, he must have drifted somewhere, wandered about half-conscious, and probably got into a traffic accident. On that day, he was lying on the road. If she had found me even a little later, I probably wouldn't have opened my eyes again. I believe you suspected that I was the one who hit you for quite some time. Hey, I've already apologized for that. This explains pretty much everything. Either because of the time he nearly drowned, or because of the traffic accident, my brother's memory was damaged. His memory probably came back eventually. However, by that time, I already set foot into my new life as Kotobuki Yukari. Only a handful of people, including President Okanogi, knew where I was. Even if my brother wanted to contact me, there was a very good chance that he wouldn't be able to, and Okanogi's probably dead by this point anyways. Ironically, the name I abandoned when I decided to live in the future delayed my reunion with my brother for so long. In that sense, I am responsible. I did it to myself. However, I'm sure I received the message my brother sent me. That message was Itoi Kukuro. I realized that Itoi Kukuro, the forger who claimed to have reached the truth, was actually Hachijo Tohya. Then I requested a meeting with her through the publishing company, to question her about why she was so sure she'd reached the truth. However, I wasn't granted a meeting. In the end, I heard nothing from them, and it's taken all these decades for me to meet Hachijo Tohya. If the publishing company had only passed my message on, we could have been reunited so much sooner. However, at the time, I was just a bourgeois girl who liked to throw money around. Why would they pass on my message when I just barged in with no introduction and demand to meet the famous and popular Hachijo Tohya? We probably crossed paths several times. If just one of those had worked out, if we had been able to meet, just how much would my life have changed? But this was fate. God had decided that a few decades were needed before the sibling reunion. And during that time, my brother became one half of a mystery novelist. I became a writer of adventure novels for children. You could say that we achieved success in society. My brother and I were reunited after becoming successful. Now I could do nothing but thank God for bringing about this miracle. Maybe it was God's will that we would be reunited after achieving success as novelists. Back then I was nameless, so I never got through to you. We've met now because we've both become famous as authors. I think all of this was God's will. At the time, we heard through the publishing company that you wanted to have an interview with us. They say that a fan who discovered Itoe Kukuro's true identity wanted to talk to her. You must have had dozens of fans dying for an interview. You couldn't possibly go to meet all of them. No, they let us know that your name was Ushiromiya Ange. At the time, I had already realized that Tohya's true name was Ushiromiya Battler, so I thought you should be given a chance to meet him. I refused. My brother said that to me. What did you say? I refused, because I didn't want to meet you. Once more, my brother spoke clearly. I was completely confused. I could only sit there in shock and silence, waiting for the words that were sure to follow. I believe I already mentioned that Tohya suffered from memory loss. And then, one day... Why did you refuse when you knew it was me? I cut through Ikuko's words and questioned him directly. What reason could my brother have for rejecting me? I couldn't think of anything. That unpleasant emotion brought up long-forgotten feelings of anger inside me. You must have known that your little sister was living all alone, being crushed by loneliness. So why? Why did you refuse to meet me? My brother hung his head. It seemed more like he was lost for words than apologetic. There was nothing shy about his appearance, and I questioned him again in an even louder voice. When I asked for an appointment with Hachijo Tohya, Itoe Kukuro was already famous as a forger. Why did Itoe Kukuro's forgeries reach the truth? It's obvious. My brother, Ushiromiya Battler, explained to her what happened on the island in detail. So the appearance of Itoe Kukuro proves that my brother's memory had returned. Therefore, he can't excuse himself by saying that he didn't remember me. In fact, in reality, he didn't try to make excuses. On the contrary, he's openly said that he refused to meet me even though he knew who I was. Looking back, I regret what I did. You regret it? Did you ever try thinking about how I felt? For decades, for most of my life. Do you realize what feelings I had to live with? Various emotions swirled inside of me. I realized that I wasn't in control of them anymore. I could only moan, to prevent myself from saying something I'd regret. I feel deeply ashamed for doing something so cruel to you. That's why I've searched for you ever since then. For your sake and for mine, I should have met you much earlier. Then why wouldn't you meet me then? Miss Kotobuki, as I said before, his memory was damaged. No, perhaps I should say that his brain was damaged. It's an after effect of the accident. But his memory came back just the same, didn't it? Yes, his memory came back. However, that did not remove the after effects of the damage. I have Ushiromiya Battler's memories. However, because of the damage to my brain, I can't think of those as my own. Can't think of those as your own? Yes. It's true that my memory of my escape from the island is still hazy. However, I've remembered almost everything else. Like how those pink hair ornaments of yours that you treasure so much were something I won for you at the game corner in that amusement park. Yes, that's right. They're a treasure from when I was a child. I still keep them with me in my handbag. Oh, she's not wearing them? I remember a lot more besides that. I remember you giving Mom trouble because you hated eating seaweed. I remember that you tried to move it to my plate and trick her. And when... If you remember that much, then why can't you think of those memories as your own? That's the result of the damage to my brain. I've been to several hospitals, but it didn't do any good. You probably can't understand it. You can't know how painful it is to have your mind suddenly filled with the memories of a man you don't know. He was terrified that he wasn't himself anymore. His mind was filled with the memories of a man he didn't recognize, and they threatened to crush and overwhelm him. They must have been his own lost memories. However, his brain couldn't accept those as his own. Those days were painful, terrifying. Felt like my mind was being invaded. Tonight, when I turn off the lights and go to sleep, maybe I will never wake up again. Maybe a different man will wake up tomorrow morning and start living life in my body. Can't count the nights that this terror tormented me. Several times he tried to convince himself that they were his real memories. He told himself that he was Ushiromiya Battler over and over again. But nothing worked. I am me, Hachijo Tohya. No matter how much Ushiromiya Battler's memories flow into my mind, to me they're the memories of a different person. I couldn't accept Ushiromiya Battler. As Ushiromiya Battler said this, he hung his head and his eyes turned red. Then one day, when he was caught between himself and the other self he couldn't accept, he had a fit. Fortunately, his life was spared, but the after effects forced him to spend his life in a wheelchair. You mean he... Oh. Now I know why he showed up in that wheelchair. And now I know why he refused to meet with me. He was afraid that I would call him Big Brother. He was terrified of meeting me, fearful that the part of himself that wasn't him would grow still further in his mind. Even so, he fought. He felt that since Ushiromiya Battler was inside him, it was his responsibility to meet you. Thinking that, he kept on fighting in the space between his two selves. And then he had a fit. After something like that, it was only natural that Ikuko would tell him that he didn't need to remember Ushiromiya Battler anymore. Bit by bit, he tried to forget that he was once Ushiromiya Battler. Doctor's instructions and medication. With that and Ikuko's diligent care, he slowly began to regain his peace of mind. Even so, I thought I would have to meet you sooner or later. To be honest, I didn't get a wink of sleep last night. I was scared of meeting you. If I met you, would I die? Yes, I was afraid. However, here I am, talking to you normally. That's why I regret what I did. If only I could have met with you earlier. You and the Ushiromiya Battler inside of me might not have had to suffer for all those years. Just thinking that makes me feel so sorry. As the one who was once Ushiromiya Battler said this, he broke down crying. I already understood. So it really was true. Ushiromiya Battler did die that day. After all, didn't the witches say that he was dead so often with the red truth? How pathetic for the Witch of Resurrection, the Witch of the Future, who swore that everyone would be together always. Tohya, please raise your head. Miss Kotobuki. They realized why I had called him Tohya. By calling him by that name, I myself felt the agitation in my heart subside a little. Thank you. You must have suffered so much. Thank you, Mr. Tohya. Thank you. Battler. Thanks for pushing yourself so hard to come here today. Holding hands, we brought our foreheads close and cried together for a while. Then we talked of the old days. He remembered many things vividly, even things that I couldn't remember myself. Each time, they made me cry even harder, and he hung his head apologetically. I realized how much this hurt him, so I kept nodding in encouragement with a strange look on my face, something between a sob and a smile. Even if he is an Ushiromiya Battler, my brother came back to me. Welcome home, Battler. Okay. It had already gotten dark outside. Even though he had come from far away, he was willing to stay as late as this. We left the store. It's probably best if I don't meet with Mr. Tohya again. It will cause him pain, and of course I'll find myself bound to the past again. Even so, just one more time. There was one place I felt I had to show him. Mr. Tohya, would you mind meeting with me just one last time? There's a place I feel I need to show you. Sure, I don't mind. From my handbag, I pulled an invitation written on a folded up piece of A4 paper. The pair of them spread it out. My. Now this looks like a splendid event. Come to think of it, you've been involved in a lot of things besides novels, haven't you? Would you lend me your time just once more on that day? That way I think both me and my brother will be satisfied. I think it might also be a chance for you to free yourself from the weight of my brother's memory, Mr. Tohya. I don't believe we have any plans for then, as long as we can finish the afterword for the book. Okay, Miss Kotobuki. We'd be happy to join you. Thank you, Mr. Tohya. So what event is this? The cold October night was a reminder that winter was approaching. The two people who called themselves Hachijo Tohya visited the city once again by Ange's invitation. A car stopped in front of a large building. Ikuko unfolded the wheelchair with a practiced hand, lent a shoulder to Tohya as he got out of the passenger seat and helped him into the chair. It looks splendid. The Fukuin house. Oh! It's my first time coming here, but I know it well. I believe it's the institution for children that was funded by the Ushiromiya family. Madam Ikuko, Mr. Tohya. Wait, Madam Ikuko, Mr. Tohya, allow us to welcome you to the Fukuin house. They were welcomed by Ange and some staff members. Or was that actually Ange saying that? I don't know. This was the Fukuin house, a welfare institution for unfortunate children who had lost their parents. In the past, this institution has been established thanks to Ushiromiya Kinzo's support. However, that support had been interrupted, and the Fukuin house had been forced to shut down for a time. Decades passed, and now the institution would be revived. Revived by the hand of Kotobuki Yukari. It's a pleasure to see you again, Miss Kotobuki. Thank you for inviting us. The two of us want you to have this. It's not much, but I hope the children enjoy it. That's not the reason I invited you here. My apologies. Don't worry about that. The tales of the future are always woven by children. After all, without them, the tale of humans will not continue. Children are treasures, so please let this be useful. Thank you very much. We have a form for donation, so if it isn't too much trouble... The Fukuin house had been drastically remodeled in recent years, in the hopes that children would one day be able to remember this as a fun place. Ange used her own money to massively remodel into a beautiful establishment. By now, she had accumulated a lot of wealth as a novelist. But even without that, she had been saving the tens of millions of yen she got from the Ushiromiya group each year under the name of living expenses. This money had been used generously to help the children. I still am a little bit confused about one thing with Chapter 4. Why did Ange never try to go to Fukuin House? Is it because it was closed down? Is it because she didn't know about it? Like, there must have been something, but she just didn't go there. Perhaps I'm just reading too deep into it? Or maybe it was actually mentioned and she just... Maybe it was mentioned that it was closed even. Who knows? Because I don't know. When they came into the entrance hall, a cheerful scene was spread before them. There were pictures and crafts created by the children. Every corner was filled with things on display. The contrast between this elegant building and the school atmosphere was amusing. The yells and laughter of kids running around drifted in from the distance. I imagine that many of the children come here hanging their heads in sorrow. To think that they could laugh like that, you really have done something great. Anyone can use magic to create a future and find their fragment of happiness. This is a witch's school for teaching that magic. The Witch's Dormitory from Sakutaro's Great Adventure? Oh, how embarrassing. See, you've read it too. We read straight through it right after our last meeting. I really must bow my head, not only to your talent as a writer, but to your warm heart. How embarrassing. This way, straight to the end. Pushing Tohya's wheelchair, we advanced through the corridor and reached the great doors at the end. The happy voices of children came from the other side. Apparently this was where tonight's party was being held. There were several jack-o'-lanterns cut out of origami. Tonight was the Fukuin House's Halloween party. Here you are, Mr. Tohya. I see, so it's trick or treat. He was handed a bag filled with candy. A teacher warned him in a small voice to watch out for rampaging children. Children? Haven't had anything to do with them for years. Please tell the children stories of dreams. All of us welcome guests here. That's tricky. What should I tell them? When you're handing in your manuscript, choose your publishing company wisely. Don't pay any attention to reader polls. Then I'll open the doors. The children are waiting. Oh wait, it's stupid. I mean, that's Angie. Angie opened the large double doors. Oh, wow. This looks just like the mansion. This is... At the sight of the hall, Tohya opened his mouth in wide-eyed shock. This was the great hall of the Ushiromiya mansion. Now that's impossible. And there's the portrait. This is definitely the Fukuin house. But its hall was just like the one in the Rokkanjima mansion. What a splendid hall. This is a replica of the hall in the Ushiromiya mansion on Rokkanjima. Yes, I've reproduced it as well as my memory would let me. The details might be wrong though. No, this really is the hall of the Ushiromiya family mansion on that day. And then Tohya's eyes fixed on something at the other side of the room. It was a portrait. A portrait of Rokkanjima's other master. It's exactly the same as my memories. The artist hired by Ushiromiya Kinzo to paint the portrait had a photo. I had him draw it again based on that. I was simply frozen in shock. The long, large table was filled with Halloween party food and surrounded with children stuffing themselves. The teacher said, "Everyone, we have guests." The children all looked at us at once, then stood up and ran forward. Their broad smiles at the arrival of this long-awaited guest enveloped me. The smiles and eyes of the children welcomed me. Yeah, I know. I know all your faces. It's been so long, far too long. I'm finally here, at last. Welcome home, sir. You took your time. We have been waiting for you. Welcome home, Battler. Welcome home. You seem well. Battler. Oh, you're looking well. Welcome home. Ryu. Welcome home, Battler. Ew. We've all been waiting for you. Oh, Battler. The guest of honor has finally arrived. Welcome home, sir. Welcome home, sir. Lord Battler. Welcome home, Battler. Welcome home. Hey, took your time, Battler. You kept us waiting way too long. We've been waiting, Battler. So you're finally here. We've been waiting. Oh god, are they all gonna talk at once? Welcome home, Lord Battler! Yeah, they all talked at the same time. Are they gonna do it too? We salute you, Lord Battler. You came! Congratulations! And Battler, welcome home. These aren't children, except for Maria, and I guess Sakutaro. Oh, that was sweet. And Beatrice. You've kept me waiting, Battler. Sorry, I've showed up pretty late. Probably should have turned on the voices for that part. What are you doing sitting in a wheelchair like that? Come on, I'll give you a hand, so straighten up. Beato stepped forward and held out a hand to Battler as he sat in the wheelchair. Battler slowly grasped that hand and rose to his feet. Is that an I? Listen. Listen, all of us are finally here! Tonight, the Golden Land will be resurrected in this place. Or is that Battler saying that? I don't even know. An explosive applause greeted Battler. Everyone was there. Everyone. Then Beato hugged Battler, strongly, tightly, as though she would never let him go. It is truly amazing that you made it back. Wait, it is truly amazing that you made it back. I'm home. Sorry it took so long. Aww. I won't let go again. Yeah, I'm not letting go either. We'll be together for all eternity. Aww. Oh. Credits then? I don't see any credits, it's just a black... Oh, there they are. Oh my god. That was like the best possible way to end it. Even though part of me is just like, Angie's just like, yeah, whatever, fuck Tohya. here's everybody. Become Battler again, even though Tohya was so scared of becoming Battler. But that was really nice. That was a wholesome ending. Which for a fucking game as crazy as this has been, that's awesome. Like, Chapter 8 ended fucking ridiculously. And then this was just so nice. That was sweet. Okay, so I guess now, after all this time, I have to give my final thoughts on... I'll just do final thoughts on Umineko as a whole. Incredible. I'm glad I played this. Like, I just started playing Questions Arc last year on a whim. Just thinking, well, I remember watching the anime, and people said it was a shit-ass adaptation. The game's on Steam. Maybe I'll try playing the game. Might as well play it on my channel. See if it's any good. And it was! It was very, very good. Like, extremely good. Is it my favorite game of all time? I wouldn't say that, but it's certainly up there. Definitely up there. Seriously, such a wonderful, wonderful story. And we still have... Apparently there's, like, episode 9 coming out eventually, so, like, how are you gonna continue off of that? Like, I'm confused. Is it just gonna be sort of a spin-off for fun? Or what? And then there's When They Cry 5, apparently. That's supposed to be a thing. And of course, you guys want me to do the Chapter 8 manga, so I'll definitely do that. I think there was also mentions of something called Hane and Tsubasa, which are, like, extra stories, so I'll probably do those eventually as well. And then, of course, there's the fighting game, Golden Fantasia. So even though we finished Answers Arc now... Oh, dude, there's still a lot of Umineko stuff. We're far from done with this series. Hell, we're far from done with When They Cry in general, if When They Cry 5 is supposed to be a thing. We're basically just gonna start all over. And then there will probably be When They Cry 6, too, acting as the Answers Arc to that. Seriously, such a lovely game. I kind of want to go through all 8 games, though, and say, like, what my favorite and least favorite parts of each were, just to give a nice little, put a nice little bow on this. Oh, wait. I offer up this tale to my beloved witch, Beatrice. Aw, that's so sweet. If that was zoomed in a little bit more, I would probably use that as a thumbnail. Because otherwise it would just not look very good. Achievement unlocked home and achievement unlocked Game Master level 2. Okay, new feature, probably the music box again. Yep, music box. Is there Chapter 8 tips? There is. Oh fuck, that's not what I meant to do. I'm not sure how much I would have to read these. Oh, because there aren't any. So it just goes through every single character. Yep. So I guess there's nothing really to mention here. Return to the title screen. Okay. So I guess I might as well go through all 8 games before I end this series and just say what my favorite and least favorite parts were. Actually, first I'll just say which, like, in order from least favorite to favorite games. So, despite the fact that none of these chapters were bad, I gotta put Chapter 2 as my least favorite. It just didn't feel as impactful as any of the others. Obviously, not bad. I still enjoyed reading it. But it just didn't have as much oomph. Like, it felt quicker than the others, too. And although all the magic stuff was definitely like, wow, this is crazy. It just wasn't anything super duper interesting compared to the others. I think I've gotta put, like, chapter, like, I don't know, 7 next? Like, 7 was still good, but again, it's just, like, the book part, wait, I'll get into that later. The book part was, it was good, yeah, but just chapter 7 didn't have as much as the other chapters. It felt like it dragged a little too. Like, there were good parts. There were fucking awesome parts in Chapter 7. Hell, there were awesome parts in Chapter 2, but it just didn't have as many awesome parts as the others. I've got to say Chapter 1 is next, because, well, Chapter 1, it was the very first chapter. It started off slow, but then it really picked up and just, I don't know, it just sticks with me, Chapter 1 does. Obviously, none of these chapters are bad. I want to say that again. Next, I'd say is Chapter 5. I don't know. Chapter 5 was good, for sure. Better than 2, 7, and 1. That's obvious, hence why it's above them. But, like, I don't know. Again, parts of it just felt like it dragged a little bit. And it just wasn't as interesting as the others. Like, it was another one of those mystery chapters, but it's just like, yeah, this mystery is not nearly as compelling because there's not as many elements to it. And most of it was just Erika bullying Natsuhi, which just wasn't terribly interesting. It gave us more information, sure, and I welcome that wholeheartedly, but it just wasn't the most interesting chapter. Next, so we still have 3, 4, 6, and 8. I'm gonna have to put 6 next. 6 was good, and I loved so many parts of Chapter 6. I don't like Zepar and Furfur. Gonna be honest, like, if I had to say if there were any characters in this game that I dislike, Zepar and Furfur. Because they just don't feel important, really. Like, Chapter 6 put so many characters in the spotlight that just weren't as interesting. Like, Erika's an interesting character, Battler and Beatrice are awesome, but then it's just like, I feel like the Chester sisters, like, Delanner's subordinates weren't that interesting. Delanner's cool, but Cornelia and Gertrude aren't the most interesting characters in the world. And then Zepar and Furfur aren't that interesting either. And it's just like the theme of love just kind of ran itself into the ground by the end of it. Obviously, it ended at, like, the perfect time, but yeah. Next, I'd have to say Chapter 3. I love Eva Beatrice. She's a hilarious character, and it was fun just basically seeing her use Chapter 3 as her playground, not to mention the twist at the end of Chapter 3. Even though I have seen the anime, I didn't remember that twist. So it hit me just as hard as it probably did in the anime, which was very nice. If it even had that twist in the anime, because I'd assume there were a lot of corners cut in the anime. I haven't seen it in a while, so yeah, I don't really remember how it was. Next, I'd have to say Chapter 4. The first half of Chapter 4 dragged, like, really. It wasn't until the first Twilight that it really ramped up. And if it wasn't for the first half, it would definitely be my favorite. And then Chapter 8, just everything was so beautiful. Nothing dragged, it was awesome, the interactive parts were really, really fun, and I just loved it to death. So now I'll just go through each chapter one by one and say, like, what specifically I liked, what specifically I didn't like. Chapter 1, I'd have to say I'll say my least favorite things first. My least favorite part of Chapter 1, not the very beginning, but, like, the segment between once Natsuhi and Kraus get introduced until right before Maria gets the letter. Like, that whole part with just, like, all the family drama and, like, Kraus just being, like, haha, economics, and Maria getting screamed at by Rosa. It just wasn't terribly interesting. Once Maria read the letter, though, it got interesting. As for my favorite part, I mean, you'd think it was the tea party, right? Which, the tea party was good, yeah, it was a very good part of Chapter 1, but not my absolute favorite. This might be an unpopular opinion, but my favorite part of Chapter 1 was the initial discovery of the bodies on the first Twilight. Just Battler's whole speech there resonates. Like, it's so goddamn well written, and it has so much contrast from everything that happened up to that point, that it just sticks out, and it's awesome. I love that scene so goddamn much. Now on to Chapter 2. It's hard to really pick a least favorite scene for Chapter 2. Honestly, like, I don't know. Like, I guess just probably, I don't know. Nothing really sticks out as bad in that chapter. Nothing really stuck out as boring in that chapter. But if I had to pick a part, I don't know. probably just, like, the very beginning. Not necessarily Shannon and George at the aquarium or Cannon and Jessica at the school festival, but, like, everything else in that first part, like with Eva berating Shannon, it just wasn't terribly interesting. And it was just, of course, Eva being a dick. As for my favorite part of Chapter 2, that's also hard to say. It's either the introduction of the Red Truth and the battles that went from there, because that's when shit started getting interesting, or the very ending with, Rosa going fucking ham on the goats. Actually, no, that was definitely my favorite part of Chapter 2. That was an awesome scene. Absolutely lovely. Lambdadelta's introduction, too, was kind of something. And it was funny, but not my favorite scene in Chapter 2. Chapter 3, my favorite part of that, I can say that for sure. As for what a least favorite part would be, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Probably that first tea party. Because it's like, it was just nothing. It was just Lambdadelta flirting with Bernkastel. It just wasn't interesting. There was not really much substance to it. I don't think there were any hints given to anything. It felt like it was just fluff, really. And then as for my favorite part, definitely Eva Beatrice's succession ceremony. Like, I'd say the twist at the very end, like the Web of Red and all that, that's an awesome scene. And the scene after that with Beatrice almost tricking Battler into believing in witches and Angie crashing through the window, that's an awesome scene. But the succession ceremony part for Eva Beatrice was just incredible. I love that scene. Why? I don't know. It's just cool. Chapter 4. I think it's obvious what my least favorite part of Chapter 4 was. The beginning segments. Not the whole beginning. There were parts of the beginning that I didn't mind. But just like everything with St. Lucia Academy was so goddamn boring. And probably adds up to be my least favorite part of Umineko in general. And considering Chapter 4 is my second favorite chapter in Umineko, man, does that really go to show how good the rest of Chapter 4 was. My favorite part of Chapter 4, this might be the easy pick. I love the first Twilight of Chapter 4, but I've got to say the first tea party of Chapter 4, incredible. I loved it. I loved it to death. It was an awesome scene. Just incredible, honestly. Chapter 5, oh boy, my least favorite part, I don't know, really. I think I would have to say just, like, every time that Erika tries to reason that Natsuhi's the culprit, because it just comes across as Erika being a cunt, which I guess is the point of Chapter 5, just portraying Erika as a antagonist, and just, like, an awful person in general. But just every single time that Erika and Natsuhi were on screen together was terribly uninteresting. As for my favorite part of the chapter, well, obviously the trial part and the part where Battler jumped out the window weren't bad. Like, I'm talking about the parts, like, just in the house, where Erika's berating Natsuhi. Those parts were my least favorite. My favorite part of Chapter 5 was the last part, like, that second tea party, where Battler just made a comeback and was just like, no, fuck you, Erika. That was awesome. That was a really good scene. Chapter 6, my least favorite part, Zeepar and Furfur. Like, no specific moment, just Zeepar and Furfur. I don't like them at all. My favorite part, when Beatrice revived. That was an awesome scene. Absolutely lovely. Now on to Chapter 7, my least favorite part, I gotta say, probably just the book. Like, the book was a decent scene, but it just dragged. It just felt slow. Like, obviously it gives us a lot of insight into Yasu, and how it kind of introduces Yasu as a concept in general, but it's just, I don't know. It just didn't stick with me that well. And for the most part, it was just Yasu being like, I love Battler, I love Battler, I love Battler, and then Claire. My favorite part, though, yeah, the tea party. The first tea party. Lovely scene. I loved it so much. And then Chapter 8. It's hard to pick a least favorite part of Chapter 8. It truly is. But thinking back through it, I don't know. Maybe just, I don't know, the awkward part between the goat siege and when Erika arrives in the Golden Land. Just the part, yeah, the part where Angie's basically just being a dickhead, minus the goat siege. Like, the part where she's in the book of... Not the book. Well, yeah, the book of the single truth, where she's reading that. And, the City of Books. It just felt... I guess the point of that scene was to be a little aggravating, maybe? To just be like, what the fuck, Angie, you're being stupid. But otherwise, it just was... yeah, I don't know. It's just not the best scene, in my opinion. As for my favorite scene... The ending of Chapter 8. That magic ending was so goddamn awesome. Actually, no, I'm gonna say my least favorite part was the trick ending, because it just left a bad taste in my mouth. Which I guess is the point. But yeah, the magic ending, my favorite, was awesome. As for what my least favorite scene in all of Umineko is, specifically, that one scene where Angie's telling the stakes to kill her classmates, and she's just having a temper tantrum. I hate that scene. That's so shit. It was so fucking annoying. As for my favorite scene in all of Umineko, either the second tea party of episode 4 or the magic ending of episode 8. They were both lovely, lovely scenes, but the things that are probably going to stick with me the most are just the random things, like the first Twilight of the first game, the first Twilight of the fourth game, like Virgilia's fight with Beatrice in episode 3, stuff like that's going to stick with me for forever, because it's just so crazy and awesome. Eva Beatrice as a character is going to stick with me for a while. Well, Umineko in general is going to be a very memorable thing. I can tell. It's going to be something that I always think back on in the future, which certainly isn't a bad thing. But either way, I guess that means that's the end of Umineko When They Cry Answers arc, or Umineko no Nakukoro ni Chiru Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. So, that begs the question of what series is going to start now that this is done. Well, I would jump straight into the Chapter 8 manga, but I have a different plan in mind. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go down to 3 series for now. Not because I want to record less or because I'm overwhelmed recently, but because I want to get Shenmue 2 done, basically by, we'll just say August 30th, or on August 29th. That's like the deadline of when I want to finish it. Well, actually, no, it could end on the 30th. Yeah, it could end on the 30th because there's a game coming out on the 30th that I want to play on the channel. And, like, I could potentially play, do the Chapter 8 manga right now. And then it would probably be done by the time the game on the 30th comes out. But, I don't know. I just want to finish off Shenmue 2. So, I'm going to start doing Shenmue 2 every day. It's going to always go up at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every single day. Starting tomorrow, I guess. So this recording slot and Shenmue 2's current recording slot are going to be kept up. And then once Shenmue 2 ends, this recording slot is going to have the Umineko When They Cry Chapter 8 manga. And I will do a reading of that, because you guys suggested that I do it, because it's quite different from Chapter 8 in the visual novel. So yes, I will certainly do that. As for when you can expect, like, Golden Fantasia to happen, I'll try to get it done as soon as possible. Well, I'll try to do it as soon as possible, because it does seem like a game I want to play, but there's obviously the game coming out at the end of this month. There's a couple games coming out next month, 2 of which I'll probably delay. I won't do them as soon as possible. I won't do them immediately. So I'd say expect Golden Fantasia sometime between September and, like, mid-November, because Pokemon Sword and Shenmue 3 come out in mid-November, and those are obviously series I want to do also. But, like, worst case scenario, don't expect Golden Fantasia until, like, I finish Fire Emblem 3 Houses or something like that. And that'll take a while, depending on whether I actually well, if I only do one house in the game, yeah, Golden Fantasia will happen, like, December or January. But if I do all 3 houses, then maybe I'd find time for Golden Fantasia before, you know, next July, when I finish 3 houses, but whatever. Either way, that's gonna bring us to the end of this long, long journey of reading Umineko. And of course, I loved it. And if you loved it, then be sure to like this video. And if you didn't like it, then I don't know why you're still watching. Anyways, remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!